Hey curious people. So this week, aluminium, or aluminum as some of our friends like to call it, alley, Iron alley, aluminum as others call it. So this week I'm going to go through my aluminium bin that's inside the shed and just show some of the sources of where to get scrap aluminium. Most of us have got the kind of bread and butter aluminium that we're used to finding. I'm going to find you some things that you might not expect to have aluminium in. I get asked a lot where to find certain things. My where to find scrap copper video is one of the really popular ones. And I thought, aluminium is sometimes the one that's a little overlooked and underappreciated. So I'm going to go through the tub behind me and some of the other bits just to show some of the places you can get it from, and then we're going to do a non-ferrous run to the scrapyard and turn in. There'll be some examples I don't have here that we commonly come across, and so that I just realised what I just said. I will maybe pop up some pictures just showing where to find other sources, and of course I won't cover everything. There's loads. I've got some quite useful information for those who are planning on melting aluminium. Kind of really important things you need to know if you're planning on then turning in those ingots. What you need to do to increase your chances of actually them being accepted by a scrapyard. And it's stuff that not everybody knows, so we'll cover that also. So let's go through the bin. I'll put my body cam on and we will see what we've got. Okay. And in case you're wondering, the reason I keep looking in the wrong place over here instead of over there is that I put my phone on the wrong way around. So normally I'm looking up there to the camera, but today you're up there. So I've got wandering eyes today. Sollers has got wandering eyes. Okay, aluminium is one of those things that I just feel like it makes the most beautiful clattering noises. For me, as many of you are aware, scrap is very sensory and therapeutic. And I think it is for many. And sometimes I've had people message me who hadn't realised why they love doing certain things in scrap so much, and then when I've pointed out on camera like a massive inner child what I love about it, they're like, oh gosh, yes. That is me. So that's good. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to really enjoy pouring out the scrap bin here. I haven't been in the shed too much. Ready? Okay, so the bench doesn't really look that much more messy than usual, to be honest. So I'm just going to sweep in here for a second and ask you if you could leave Sollers a thumbs up. If you don't absolutely hate the video, a thumbs up would be most appreciated. It helps her out, folks, so if you like her, do her a favour. Give her a thumbs up. I don't know what this accent is that I'm using on this guy. Who knows? But yeah, if you could, thumbs up, that would be great. Thank you. And leave a comment. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, eh? Yeah. Aluminium. So aluminium's got loads of properties and loads of forms. Different grades of aluminium. Now, I've said before, I'm lucky enough that my yard, well, it's a pro and a con. My yard doesn't grade aluminium. Therefore, everything that you see here will go into one grade, and so I get a flat rate. So they don't differentiate between extruded, sheet, old rolled, any of that. Well, it all gets classed as old rolled, actually. But it does mean that I don't have to take every single screw out and spend a lot of time cleaning up the aluminium. They will accept bits that have got the odd other bit on there. Obviously you can't take the mick because then it would change it from aluminium to irony alley, which is where the percentage is over what's an acceptable amount. Another spider caught my eye. Okay, so here, this is just some of the aluminium I've got. Now we get aluminium encasing things, and we get a lot of aluminium inside of things. So I'm just going to go through it and remind ourselves where we would get such things. So this, for example, many of you may recognise, this is the back plate of a screen. So it could be a television or more than likely a computer monitor. Now inside a lot of those, if you are going to go down to micro level, you're going to get this sheet of aluminium. And if you do a lot of them, it adds up. Obviously on its own, not very weighty. Not only that, inside a television, but you will also get these. And these are the little tiny board plates that cover the little strip boards that have got the little bits of gold on them for the screen. So that can add up pretty nicely, but it's not a lot. Hinges. So computers are a huge source of aluminium if you know where to look. So obviously we've got the obvious thing from computers, which is heat sinks. If you're really lucky, you'll get a beautiful heatsink that's got a copper stacker inside. If not, you're likely to get one of these, which is just aluminium. Now heatsinks can take many forms. So these are all heatsinks that have come out of computers. PCs, I'll show you the laptop ones that are ever so slightly different. Now, a lot of the time they will just be a whole piece of aluminium in different shapes. You know, they can have some really beautiful shapes to them, and I do keep certain ones just because I appreciate them. It's not hoarding. Small ones, thin ones, different shaped ones. This has always appealed to me with the wave. But as you can see, they are all aluminium. This one, however, would be considered a copper alley rad, and that's because, as you can see, there's copper inside. Now, you could take the time to get the copper out of these. I have done it, guilty. Or some yards will just take that as a copper alley rad. It's got a nice plate of copper here. So of course, me being me, this is not going into copper alley rads. That will be processed by myself. And of course, back to the original. So that's some of the PC heat sinks. However, as most of you will know, you get heat sinks in everything that's got a power board. And that's because with electronics, you need to draw that heat away from the circuit board to allow it to function. It's something that has to be there. They're vital components. And on circuit boards, they are going to be aluminium. On the not circuit boards, on the little PCBs and the power boards. Hardly ever would you come across a copper one. Sometimes you might get a little copper one that's got a MOSFET on it. Usually they're not even real copper. It's usually going to be aluminium. Now you think that you're not going to waste time taking those off, but if you have a look at my collection here, right, this aluminium can be pretty chunky. It can be sheet or it can be extruded, but it does add up super fast. That's another one. So this is another heatsink from inside. I think this was, what was that? That was either an amplifier or something like that. So, something with a box. You can see where the MOSFETs have been attached. You also get this horrible heatsink goo or heatsink paste. So yeah, usually on these you'll have the MOSFETs. And obviously they're yummy for a different reason. So inside the boards, not only do you get those big ones, you get smaller ones like this on the power boards, or like this inside a. So you'll have a main one inside a PC, but you'll also have these little ones as well, which go over things like BGAs or other IC chips. And again, they don't look like much, but that's got considerable weight to it. These are all from inside PCBs and circuit boards. Absolutely nothing to be sniffed at. If you're down to the circuit board layer anyway, take off your aluminium. You'll get more for it than... It can actually increase the value of a board by removing this aluminium, which personally I find crazy anyway, that power boards are graded so low when they have so many great base metals on there. Okay, all these heat sinky things. This was out inside a CB radio. Okay, so that's more from inside a board, more heat sinks. So as you can see, the heat sinks are adding up pretty quickly. That's probably one of my biggest sources of aluminium, is off of these from boards and power boards. So other things inside PCs or that kind of server telecom type material is sometimes the brackets that are removable, another heatsink, are aluminium also, another heatsink. So this is an example of a hard drive bracket, and as you can see, it's aluminium. Now sometimes they could be aluminium alloys or zinc, you know, but generally a yard will take it all as aluminium. But your yard, you have to know your own yard, and they are all different. So yeah, you can get brackets also nice aluminium. And again, colour of these heat sinks, they could be any colour, because aluminium, you know, they love dyeing it to make it look snazzy on certain boards. And quite often they'll dye it to look like copper, but actually it's aluminium. Okay, so inside, look, that's a big one. There's another one. I'm just going to keep finding heat sinks now. All different shapes and sizes, but these extruded ones are yummy because they're nice and chunky. So the actual boxes of things, sometimes the outside case, if you're lucky enough for it not to be the dreaded plastic, more often than not, in the older stuff, it's aluminium. They do have steel casings, and the more modern things, more and more have got steel casings, but the older things. So here's an example unstripped. I've got an old CB radio box, part of the taxi system that I broke down. Now the whole outer casing of this is aluminium, and this is what it comes down to once it's stripped. So you can see it's a lovely, lovely, solid, strong cast aluminium box there. That could even be extruded, actually. It looks like it's got, yeah, right? It's got extruded lines. Gosh. Well, there we are. So extrusion, basically extruded is the process by which it's made, and to get a piece of extruded aluminium, all they do is it's pushed through a mould, it's extruded out, and that will be the kind of thing you get. And with extruded aluminium, you can see the lines where it's pushed through, whereas with cast, the finish can be very different. You don't get those lines where it's pushed through the mould. And interestingly enough, this has actually got those lines, which I didn't expect. I'm not sure I've ever really thought about the fact you can have a whole solid casing that's extruded. Box is adding up nicely, isn't it? So the outside casings of things, here's another one. Nice cast aluminium box here, and you know, it adds up super quick. Typically, so this is obviously, this had a different, it's not all the way around, but the one we just saw, you saw it was all the way around, which is, you know, great. So casings, and that could be things like set-top boxes, amplifiers, even some servers, telecoms equipment, anything really can have an aluminium casing. You have to just check it out. Always check it out. Sometimes the outer casing can also act as a bit of a heat sink. So this was a casing, but as you can see, it is actually doubling up here as a heat sink. So designed to draw the heat away from those boards and those components. Clever stuff. And super heavy. That adds up nicely. And then we get to things like motors. Now, motors, more often than not, have aluminium casings like this. And you'd have the motor inside, and you've just got to extract the aluminium off. Obviously, this I could have done with getting this off. This is sort of like phosphor bronze there. I probably should try. I need to try and get that out before. That's not going to be too hard to get out. I'll dink that out before that before that goes off to the scrapyard. So loads of different aluminium motor casings, and again, sometimes they're not strictly aluminium, but they'll be taken as aluminium, and that's good enough for me. Now my yard won't mind about a little bit of ferrous material in the middle, but if I can get it out, I do, because obviously it's better to send in as much as you can clean. Obviously you can hammer it apart to get to what you need to get to. Now here's a motor that I haven't stripped yet, still in that casing. So washing machines, tumble dryers, that kind of thing, this is what you're going to get. Got one in my car that I did on a drive last night. Yeah, so this is all aluminium for the taking on the outside here. So we don't want to leave that behind because it all adds up. Talking of washing machines, tumble dryers, here is another big chunk of aluminium, and in here, on those you've got these little beautiful bits, little motors that have got stunning copper inside.
Mom,
yes, darling.
let's go up to Nanny Island.
Okay, thank you, darling. So yeah, look at that. That's a nice wad. Now, depending on your yard, inside of here is an element. You may have to go through the trouble of opening that whole thing up and taking out that element. Some yards actually have a category for elements, so it's you know, it's fine. But just so you know, there is an element in there. More it just fell in the box. And obviously you've got this. Now, sometimes this fan blade is actually aluminium too. A lot of the time it isn't. Let's see with this one. So we're lucky enough that this one is aluminium. Obviously the pin isn't. So for me, my yard would probably be happy enough that I just took this off and these bits around the edge, and that could probably just go into aluminium as is. But lots of nice bits of aluminiums where motors are concerned. Here's another one. Motors, heat pumps, that kind of thing, anything heating water. Now obviously there's an element that runs through this. You could just nip off the end so it looks a bit better. A lot of yards are a lot stricter than mine, and that would have to go as like dirty alley, but or possibly even irony alley. They might take it as irony alley, but there's a couple of bits off there that I need to get, obviously. These bits are clean. Now, back to boards quickly. Irony alley. Capacitors, you'll get these on all boards. Now, a capacitor is made up with sheets of aluminium and different chemicals. This is an electrolytic capacitor, so it is different from the ceramic capacitors. Now, some crazy people, like Ian Matthews, will strip these. I just don't have the time. I mean, I do strip down to bones, but I just don't have the time to do capacitors. So, anything basically this size or bigger, I'll collect up and put in Ironing Alley. The smaller ones, I don't tend to mess with. I do take them off, but usually they're more for creation. So like making e-waste art, which is something I do, they'll be taken off for that rather than the scrap value. So yeah, capacitors, another source of aluminium. Just always be aware when you're doing things with waste and e-waste that things have chemical components. So just always be aware of what you're breaking down when you're going to bare bones things like this kind of thing off of circuit boards. Okay. Off of like little TVs, you can also get another small little sheet of aluminium just covering little boards sometimes. And generally just inside things, you can have aluminium blocks. They've got a great property, they're great for casting, strong and solid. So it adds up nice and quickly. That's actually stainless, I don't know that's in there. Plates, back plates on things. Yummy. That's not aluminium at all, that's brass. This kind of thing. Little tiny components inside things. You'll be surprised where you can find little sheets of aluminium. It doesn't weigh much, but boy does it add up. Now, in things like heated hairbrushes, hair curlers, that kind of thing, you'll have a tube of aluminium. So that's great. Easy to take those apart. Hair straighteners, they'll have a strip of aluminium. You'll be very surprised. There you go. So to say, I always do hair straighteners. There you go. There's hair straightener. It's off the tongs. What would you call that bit? This is just the plate, basically the heat plate. That's a nice little bit of aluminium. You can see there, that's actually extruded aluminium. I'm not sure the camera can pick it up, but you can see where it's been pushed through. So yeah, heated hair products, another great source of aluminium. They go wrong all the time as well. You'll be surprised if you reach out to your neighbours and say that you take that kind of thing, how much you then get given. It's quite a lot. Oh, so here's an example of aluminium made to look like something else. So at a glance, you might think that was coppery based or brassy based, but actually it's just painted aluminium. So what a shame that in the aluminium box. This is of little motors. It's another little casing where it had a little motor in there. Sometimes things that have got heads like tape decks, VCRs, that kind of thing, might have some little aluminium bits to go with the head. Here's an example of a head that was in probably a VCR, I think, this one. And so you get a nice block of aluminium here. Sometimes you have stainless, sometimes aluminium. So they're quite nice. More little heat sinks. And then things like outdoor appliances like CCTV, that kind of thing. This was a CCTV camera. Had a nice aluminium shaft here. That looks like a person. Hello. Nice aluminium shaft and mounts and casings. That was another person. This one's got a bit of a longer face. Hello. So yeah, great source. This whole base plate there for the camera There's a chain there. What's that doing in the aluminium? Ooh. Oh. That's weird. Half. That's ferrous. That bit's non-ferrous. Have a look at that. Could be silver. It's probably stainless. I digress. Apologies. So yeah, some nice casings for things like CCTV. Then you've got more electronics. This is a side panel on F200 series box. So, yep, side panels, check those out. They can be aluminium. They add up beautifully. That's brass as well. And grates, like little heating vent grates. Aluminium. Wonderful. Back on the washing machines, that reminds me, depending on how much you strip, I mean, I quite often strip down to the drum and sell the drum as a fire pit, or use it as myself until it runs out, until it burns through. But often the wheel that holds the drum of a washing machine or a tumble dryer is aluminium. So that's a great thing. A nice big heavy bit of aluminium. So look out for that. Obviously it takes a lot of stripping to get down to that point. And boxes like the set-top boxes, for TV boxes, amplifiers, that kind of thing, can have a nice aluminium box, or even some sides being aluminium, not all perhaps. So other things like this was the pump I did not long ago. It was a, what do you call it, garbage waste disposal unit, and that whole thing, pretty gross, but the whole thing is aluminium, complete with another heatsink. So I was going to try and plug the bottom, that's too big. Yeah, that can add up pretty nicely. That's another hair straightening thingy. Oh, a sneaky bit of plastic has made its way in. Lighting. Lighting is quite a big source of aluminium. I'm not sure I've got... Oh, I have got some examples actually. One example is in this mess here. So often on standard lamps, not the whole thing, but a bit. You might be lucky enough for a bit to be aluminium. Let's have a look at this one. So that's ferrous. Up there is ferrous. But that whole thing is actually ferrous, so forget that. So lighting. Quite often the big industrial lighting is going to have an aluminium casing. Here is an example of this. This came out of a school, I think. This is all aluminium. This is aluminium, and so is this. So that's a great source. Hear the clatter. That adds up quickly. We've seen some of our scrapping friends have had huge lighting aluminium scores, you know. Good stuff. Here, tanks. So obviously we get copper tanks for things, but quite often you might get a little aluminium one. And these always remind me of sculptures. So obviously this needs cracking into. There is an element. I think my yard would be all right just to take that whole thing as aluminium. To be honest, it has got ferrous screws. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have aluminium screws as well. So yeah, lighting, another brilliant source. This brings me on to kitchenware. So in the kitchen, stainless is obviously a huge up there with utensils, sides of appliances, that kind of thing. But aluminium is also quite prominent, pots and pans. So this is a good example. Here we've got an aluminium frying pan, almost a wok. It's massive, it's deep, but it's not. It's a frying pan. The handle is stainless steel, but the inner bit, the actual pan itself, is aluminium. So just bust off the handle. This one is actually just riveted in, so I could probably just do that for you now. And it will just pop off. So there we go. So now I've got a nice separate bit of stainless. Oh, that's quite nice actually. That's heavy. That is heavy. And then an aluminium pan. So you can see how it's beginning to add up pretty quickly. Old lids, because that is just a screw on flathead. I will undo that just to clean the plastic off, because it's easy peasy. And that's aluminium too, so result. And do you know what? Oh no, I thought that was a riveted one. No, it is. That's also an aluminium flathead, and you can see inside where I broke it off. So there we have it. Now, talking of kitchen stuff, your big mixers, they can have an aluminium. Hello, spider. What are you up to? Oh, you've got, what have you got there? Oh, is that a ladybird? Oh my gosh, they're all out today. Spiders in Soller's shed today. Sheesh. Back to lighting. This was actually a lava lamp, and this whole base here, which looks like stainless, is actually aluminium. You can see that from the inside, so that's pretty cool and heavy, very heavy. So adds up nicely. You could put that in with your stainless, to be honest. I think it might have stainless legs. So everybody knows I keep all my copper for casting, and one day, yes, I'll be melting aluminium too. Now, aluminium is one of the one metal that's probably got the most variations. And what a lot of people don't know is that when they are melting their aluminium ingots, you can basically make this absolutely worthless very quickly. And it's not because a lot of yards won't take ingots because they don't know what's in it. It's not because of that, because lots of yards will either test or cut it open and they'll just take it. But with aluminium, there are some pretty strict rules on how you recycle it. And because of the hundreds of different grades, aluminium is supposed to be melted back into the same type of thing that it was before. So, for example, your cans. If you are going to melt aluminium cans, what you really need to do is somehow mark that ingot or record in some way, ideally by marking, that it's made from cans, because then the scrapyard can sell it as such. Their buyers might be very specific in what they will take. Window frames, aluminium window frames should be turned into aluminium window frames. Obviously, where you've got things like these, the grade is going to be slightly different, and there must be a mixed category because we sell it as such, don't we? But cans and window frames, I know, are pretty specific in that they should be remelted back into cans and window frames. It's a weird fact I learned along the way. So if you can, when you're melting, just try to categorise your aluminium. So don't like chuck in nice extruded heat sinks with cans. Try and keep them separate, and you might have a better job down the line when you come to selling these on. That was a lovely ingot that was sent to me by Silver Scorpion, which is stunning. Okay, so I think we've probably, you can get aluminium everywhere. Hopefully I've sort of covered that. But, yeah, just check. When you're breaking stuff down, they mix stuff a lot. So like this, for example, being stainless and aluminium. The pan being stainless and aluminium. Sometimes this fan will be aluminium, it isn't. Sometimes it isn't, like I said. So, you know, depending on your yard, it's going to depend on how well you have to sort this stuff out, basically. But yes, so now we are going to sort the non-ferrous ready for a scrap run, which I'll probably do tomorrow because time's getting on today and it's baking. I'm so hot. Yeah, so I have got some non-ferrous I need to get rid of. I've also got another washing machine I picked up yesterday that I need to break down before I go. So we're going to do all of that, sort it all out, and then we're going to go to the scrapyard and see what we actually get for some of this stuff. Cool. Hello, Bee. Could you just make your way back out the shed, Poppet? Don't go into the abyss. Don't go to the spider's webs either. Did you go? Whew. I think he went. Whew. Ready to go. Yoink. Ta-da! Now, this is an interesting one. I was just doing this motor. Annoyingly, the armature will be copper. Annoyingly, it's aluminium windings, not copper, so we call that Chinesium. But you're not supposed to put aluminium into some scrapyards as motors anyway. They're meant to be copper bearing motors. Some, it doesn't matter. But this is one of those really easy ones to strip. And so I will take the aluminium out of here and actually turn it in as aluminium. Slices through like butter. Do, 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 do. Put it down. Okay. Now, one thing I'm not sure is if my yard has an aluminium cable or winding section. It probably doesn't. It's such a tiny yard, but they're a great bunch of guys there. Like, I really appreciate them hugely. So that's one side. Just loosen it up a bit more. Obviously you can grind or whatever, a little tiny slit, it wouldn't take long, but I don't use power tools unless I absolutely have to. I'd rather do it by hand. Much better that way. Right. And then just put it down and pull it out. So obviously if you're keeping aluminium for casting, you've got this. There'll be quite a lot of slag because of the coating, but you know, it is what it is. Done. So I don't normally strip aluminium motors, but if it's those quick easy ones, then yeah, you can bet your life I'm gonna. And that one chunky heavy bit of steel. And don't forget, inside big electronics, these were the smart boards. The whole centre of these smart boards is stunning aluminium. So there's a huge whack of aluminium here from 2 smart boards. It sure adds up. Oh, motors that have defeated me. This end is non-ferrous, VIR, stainless, aluminium, stainless, batteries. We've got shred, a couple of bags of that there, and then aluminium, 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 iron alley, because that has defeated me and I'm not wasting cutting blades when it's got the steel rod going through it. Sometimes choose your battles. Oh yes, it's that time. Let's go to the scrapyard. Do 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 do. Let's go see the pile. Find out what it's weighing. Do 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 do. What will it be paying? Do do do. Let's go to the scrapyard. Anyway, and see. Let's go to the scrapyard! Woohoo! Okay, arriving at the yard. Please don't be busy because it's so hot. I don't want to sit in my car. Please, 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 please don't be busy. That's not looking too bad. Yes. Oh no, I spoke too soon. Damn. There's a queue to get on the bridge. Down at the bottom of the pile is ransacked with vans. It's a bit like Tyrone's. No, not really, it's nothing like Tyrone's. I would not queue at Tyrone's. It wouldn't matter how good their prices were, I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Man, this is annoying. This is annoying, and what's more annoying is that I packed it so that I can unload the shred first, and then do the non-ferrous because that's the way they like it. Basically, it's the easiest way normally, but actually, it would have been really nice if I could have just pulled over. Although there's a big, massive truck next to me. There's a lot of vehicles crammed in here. Well, I'll come back to you when we, I don't know, move or do something. Plastic.
Oh, there's an hammer, eh? Yeah, that's the one. And it's just fall apart.
Now the queue for the scales. Both scales.
It's just 2 seconds.
It's alright, no worries. How busy are you today?
I'm always busy when I get going,
I'll get the aluminium out first. That's only Ali, that one. That big one's aluminium. That blue bag there's aluminium if you want to grab that out. Do you want me to leave it in there? Don't panic, I'm not really. Do you want me to leave it in the box?
That's right.
It's stainless, that one.
Oh no, you might as well leave it on with the alley.
Oh really? Better price, is it?
Well, to be honest, you've only got one bit.
No, I've got more stainless
you got
in
some
it.
more?
Yeah.
Is that one stainless as well then? This stainless.
No, that's all. Oh no, wait, I've forgotten what that one is.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that. I didn't know what they go as. What do your copper elements go as?
A lot of these
High ones. I don't know where they are.
they go their own thing, but a lot of these are stainless steel ones which are made
Oh.
just like in the alley.
All right, grab that.
You say you got some more on the alley?
Only this.
No.
Only those.
Right, that's all your alley, yeah?
Let me double check. Yeah. And the elements there.
Nine of iron, Chris.
Batteries? Household.
Sorry?
And then household. God, you're busy today, aren't you?
Every day.
Is it like this every day now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh. That one's singles.
Singles, yeah?
Yeah. You do that one for me, that's the heaviest. Motors. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. How busy was the yard, my goodness, and in this heat as well. Ay, ay, ay. Still gotta love the scrapyard. But wasn't that carnage. Okay, so let's do the what did it weigh, what did it pay. So I had mixed iron and mixed iron, 100 kilograms of that at £145 a tonne, gave £14.50. So basically that was the washing machine and the drum, a couple of little bits. It's a byproduct of us micro scrappers basically. So that was good to get rid of. Aluminium old rolled. This is what they put all aluminium down as. So everything I had that you saw all went down as this. That came to 34 kilograms. So those smart boards didn't weigh that much, sadly. But 34 kilograms at 800 a tonne is £27.20. Stainless, so I had that little bit of stainless, that came at 9 kilograms, 700 a tonne. So one of the men from the yard said I'd be better off leaving it in with the alley. And he's right, because it's £100 a tonne more. £6.30 for that. So iron alley, that was that big thing out of that where I found those knickers in the spin dryer. The old 40-year-old twin 40-year-old spin dryer. 4 kilograms of that, £2.50 a tonne. So just £1 for that. I just didn't want to be wasting cutting discs getting through that, so I'm happy with that. Batteries, 19 kilograms, £510 a tonne, £9.69. Household cable, 17 kilograms of that, 1,900 a tonne, £32.30. So that's the winning one so far. Singles wise, I had that one carrier bag, probably 3/4 full, would you say? That weighed in at 3 kilograms, but that's 3,000 a tonne. So that actually gave me £9. That one little carry bag. And motors, 25 kilograms of those. So they were basically armatures, because until I have my furnace, I'm not scrapping armatures. I just don't want to. It's just, I hate it. It's such a labour intensive job. Even with all the bells and whistles that other people show us how to do it, it's just too much work. So armatures just go in with my little transformers that I take off of boards, etc., and ballasts. So 25 kilograms of that, 400 a tonne, that gave £10. So the grand total gave a total of £109.99. And you'll see the conversions on the screen now in the different currencies. Now, I'm absolutely thrilled with that. That'll do me nicely, because I'm going out. In fact, when you see this, I will have been out yesterday, because on Saturday, today is Thursday, on Saturday I'm going to London with my friends for the first time in a really long time, and I can't wait. London for me is 20 minutes on a train. It's winner veggie chicken dinner. So I've got myself some spending money. Very nice too. So I hope you enjoyed that. Focusing on aluminium. Hopefully you got to see the wheel on the washing machine when I took it out. But yes, where to get it, what it's in, that kind of thing, and the other non-ferrous bits that I can take to the yard. And now I've got this task of cleaning up the horrible workbench. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Everyday Sollers really appreciate you. But do her a favour, and she says it every time, so I think people end up not hearing it. But it would be great if you could leave a thumbs up and a comment, and just show your love. Okay, have a good one. Bye. Bye. Ah, shucks.